Good day, viewers, and welcome to the 79th episode of the Indian Lawyer Legal Tips. Today, we will be discussing the micro, small, and medium enterprises in India. I am Yash Hari Dikshit. I am an associate at the firm, and we have with us Mrs. Sushila Ram Varma. She is an advocate and chief legal consultant of the firm. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, Yash, and I'm glad you chose this topic because the entire country is talking about startups, the startup movements, and then, of course, MSMEs are really part of that movement. In fact, the next topic I would suggest, let's do something on legal aspects of startups. Okay, Yash, let's start.
Definitely. So, ma'am, to begin with, can you please provide an overview of India's micro, small, and medium enterprises and their role in our economy?
Well, as per sources that we have got online, it is believed that there are 6.3 crore MSMEs in India. They form the backbone of the Indian economy and they contribute to nearly 30% of India's GDP, which I must say is a big amount. And they are also majorly into manufacturing and exports. Having said that, I would also like to add that MSMEs are also extremely important because of the fact that they are capable of employment generation and they give livelihood to several people. It is believed that around 15 crore people are earning their livelihoods from MSMEs.
So, ma'am, in which sectors do these MSMEs predominantly operate, and how do they contribute across different industries?
Well, I would say MSME is just an enterprise, right? It's a form of business. So typically they can be in any line of business, but primarily I would say in India they're into manufacturing. It could be textiles, garments, handicrafts, leather, jute, coir, or it could also be engineering goods, chemicals, plastics, auto components, food processing, pharmaceutical, etc. Now, for example, in the automobile sector, it is believed that MSMEs contribute or rather supply over 25% of the components to the original equipment manufacturers, which I think is a very big amount of auto components. Apart from this, MSMEs are also in the service industry. They could be in IT-enabled services, logistics, hospitality, education, retail trades, repairs, and services, healthcare, tourism, etc. But I would say that one area where MSMEs are really the winners are in the line of exports because they at present contribute to 50% of India's exports. So they are a very important aspect of the Indian economy, and the fact that they are now progressing so steadily in exports is saying a lot because they're earning foreign exchange for the country.
So, such a big economic footprint has to be supported by a comprehensive legal framework. So, what are the
Absolutely.
major and regulations that are there in this regard?
Well, the primary act would be the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006. This act, I would say, is the foundation for MSMEs. Now, this act provides statutory definitions of who is falling under which category, whether you're a micro, small or medium. Accordingly, it also provides for certain benefits that you would get if you are declared to be either micro, small or medium. But I think, in my opinion, in this act, the most important aspect of this act is the establishment of the framework for delayed payment resolution through micro and small enterprises facilitation councils, that is MSEFCS, also known as facilitation councils. Now, this act also provides the basis for government schemes, credit facilitation and policy incentives. So this would be the foundational or the most important act that governs MSMEs. But apart from that, the fact that they are doing business, it means all business and commercial laws will be applicable. And the laws like the Companies Act or the tax laws or the GST Act or the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, the Contracts Act, the compliances like the environmental protection law or the labor laws, all these laws would be applicable. So there is a multi-layered legal framework in which the MSMEs find themselves positioned.
And ma'am, what are the major legal and operational challenges faced by these MSMEs?
Well, like I said, MSMEs are mainly into business. So I would say, like all other businesses, the first and probably the most prevalent problem is delayed payments. This has become a pressing issue in all businesses, despite the fact that there are contracts which mention timelines, despite the fact that the bills or the that are sent to the customer always have the timelines. Despite all of this, delayed payments is a very common and a very regular kind of issue or challenge that any business faces. Other than this, you would also have credit access. Now, MSMEs have there's a certain newness in an MSME. So, high risk borrowers are not very interested in giving out loans to people who cannot give a collateral. So, this is a place where there is a challenge which MSMEs face. Then there is a burden of too much of regulatory compliances, and this I would say takes away from the operational bandwidth. It would take up to at least 10 to 15% of the operational bandwidth by just complying with all these rules and regulations. Then in some cases, we notice that there are technological gaps, like only 28% of MSMEs are fully digitalized, and 15% of these MSMEs are using the e-commerce platforms. Then, of course, you will have what is known as skill deficits. That is only a certain percentage. At this point of time, it's 25% of the MSME workforce that lacks adequate training, which leads to inefficiencies and reduced competitiveness. So I would say this sector also is plagued with the same kind of problems that any other business sector would have.
Ma'am, as you said, definitely delayed payments is the biggest issues MSMEs are facing. So, can you explain a few existing forums for dispute resolutions regarding delayed payments?
Not only, yes, delayed payments and even other issues, you have both dispute resolution mechanisms for MSMEs that operate either offline or online. Now, offline forums would be like the Facilitation Council, that is the MSEFC, which has been set up under the Act, and they are mandated to resolve disputes regarding delayed payments within 90 days. This particular number is there in the Act, but frankly, it doesn't always get resolved within 90 days. Also, this particular body is a quasi-judicial body, and sometimes when it can't decide the matter, it just refers it to arbitration or conciliation. Then, of course, in the offline, you will have the civil courts, and that is something which is always available. But we all know that civil courts meets very time-consuming as well as expensive. Now you have online forums like the MSME SAMADHAAN Portal 2017 that enables enterprises to file complaints online against buyers who default on payments. This particular portal also tracks the case progress for MSEMEs. Now, you also have something called the Trade Receivables Discounting System. It's again a digital platform regulated by the RBI that allows MSMEs to auction their receivables and get early payments from financiers. And then, of course, you have the online dispute resolution or the ODR platform, which is a recent government initiative offering AI-enabled negotiation, mediation, and arbitration online. It promises faster, transparent, and low-cost resolution compared to the conventional methods. However, the entire institutional framework might be robust, but its effectiveness is still limited because of delays, lack of awareness, and sometimes even inadequate enforcement capacity.
You mentioned the facilitation councils and MSME Samadhan Portal. Are they proving to be effective in resolving disputes regarding MSMEs?
Well, frankly, the MSEFCs and the Samadhan Portal have achieved partial success. They are supposed to decide the dispute in 90 days, but practically, the time frame gets extended due to procedural bottlenecks or due to capacity constraints, like they don't have the manpower, or they don't have the digital infrastructure, or they don't have a standardized process across different states in the country. All these have now led to inconsistent outcomes. The thought process is excellent, this business of having a facility by which you can resolve your dispute within 90 days. It doesn't happen within 90 days, but anyway, there is at least some option where people can go digitally and try to get their issues resolved. Then the SAMADHAAN portal has also improved accessibility by allowing MSMEs to file claims online. This has reduced the physical barriers. It is also ensuring more transparency. But however, even in this case, there is a utilization problem. Though the facility is available, only very few MSMEs. I have been given to understand that only 1% of eligible MSMEs actually approach this particular Samadhan portal. So while the institutional recourse is there, sadly it is not very effective because it's not used.
So the government is working on creating an online dispute resolution mechanism for MSMEs. How do you think it can transform the landscape regarding dispute resolution?
Frankly, I think this would be an excellent way to sort out matters. I am all for ODR platform. It will be very transformative, not only for MSMEs, for all business. Because unlike traditional forums, you are fully digital, it is more accessible, most cost effective, and probably the most important aspect, in my opinion, is the timelines. So its process has two stages. First, AI-enabled voluntary negotiation and mediation, where both parties can try to get some solution. And then second, if this fails, then you go for arbitration or on the online dispute resolution portal. And in my opinion, India is one country which desperately needs this ODR platform, not only to be in place, but also to succeed. And if it does succeed, I believe, yes, it would be a runaway success because people are so fed up of the lengthy timelines that are there when you go to court, and they are also fed up with the expenses that are associated with going to court.
Absolutely, ma'am. Apart from dispute resolution, what major incentives has the government undertaken to encourage and support MSMEs?
Well, the government has rolled out a multi-pronged strategy that addresses finance, technology, markets, and skills. In the finance, you have Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, where they're giving collateral-free loans up to a certain amount. I think it's 10 lakhs. Then you have this emergency credit line guarantee scheme, which was introduced during the pandemic. Then you have the Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for micro and small enterprises, which guarantees credit to banks who are lending to MSMEs. Then on the technology front and digital, there is a lot of digital adoption. Subsidies are being given for technology upgradation. And Digital India programs really encourage MSMEs to adopt cloud computing, digital payments, and also e-commerce platforms. Apart from this, the government has also started Government e-marketplace, which provides MSMEs a direct platform to supply goods and services to government buyers. Then you have the Export Promotion Council and cluster-based trade support for international exposure. And then you have something called Skill India Mission, which also tries to bridge the gap between people who don't have any skills and the requirement of MSMEs. So overall, the government is definitely trying to make some major changes, but the awareness building is still on the go, and it will probably still take a few more years.
And ma'am, how is Supreme Court looking in this situation? Can you share some major judgments regarding MSMEs?
Yes, there are two judgments which I feel we should bring before the viewers. One is a 2023 judgment of the Supreme Court. It's called Gujarat State Civil Supplies versus Mahakali Foods Private Limited. Now, in this judgment, what happened was that as an MSME, you have the option of going under the MSMED Act when you have a dispute resolution or a payment issue. But in this particular case, there was also a contract which spoke about arbitration. Now, what finally transpired is that the company that wanted the money wanted to get the dispute resolved under the MSMED Act, whereas the company that had to pay insisted on the Arbitration Act. Finally, when the matter came up to the Supreme Court said, no, the MSMED Act, being a specialized legislation, will override the arbitration agreements between the parties, and the parties must go and try the mechanism that is there under the Act. Then you have another important judgment in 2025. This is Tamil Nadu Cements Corporation, also known as TANSEN, versus MSEFC, which is a 2025 judgment. In this case, Unicorn Engineers approached MSEFC under Section 18 of the MSMED Act, claiming certain amounts of money. Now, TANSEN, the order was passed by this council, and TANSEN was not happy with it. They went and filed a writ petition in the concerned High Court. Now, the issue that came up before the Supreme Court was whether a writ petition could be filed if there is a provision in the MSMED Act for deciding the matter, and if the person against whom the order is passed is not happy, can he challenge it by way of a writ petition? Now, since this is a relatively new idea, the Supreme Court felt that this should go before a larger bench of 5 judges, and they should determine whether writ petitions under Article 226 can be maintainable against MSEFC, that is the council, given the availability of alternative remedies under Section 34 of the Arbitration Act, and under what circumstances the principle of adequate alternative remedy should apply. So all in all, the court emphasized that jurisdiction is not just a constitutional right, but forms part of the basic structure of the Constitution and cannot be completely barred by statutory provisions. However, let's see how the Constitution bench decides.
Definitely, ma'am. I have one final question for you. Given these developments, in your opinion, are India's current policy and legal framework sufficient for MSMEs, or we still require deeper structural reforms?
I think we require deeper structural reforms, because though the MSMED Act and the SAMADHAAN Portal and there are other integrated framework for MSMEs, but still I would say the enforcement mechanisms are very weak. I think we need to, these legislations need to have some, something that will make them a much stronger legislation, much easier to actually resolve issues. So I think we definitely require key reforms in a number of sectors before we can really say that, yes, we have arrived as far as MSMEs are concerned.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing insights into this matter. I think since entrepreneurship is on the rise in India, and these policy frameworks and legal framework is also in the evolving stage, so this conversation might be very helpful for a lot of businesses. Thank you so much for today's talk, and thank you viewers for joining in today. If you find this helpful, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel.
Dear viewers, if you have any queries on MSMEs or startups or anything pertaining to business laws, you are welcome to reach out to us on the email that is mentioned on the screen, and we will be happy to answer your queries. Thank you and Jai Hind.